So, I was gonna make a video on the current insider build for Reach PC, but then it got an extension, and then it got another extension. And now it's coming out on December 3rd. Yeah, this happened. So to leave people with room for thought and also to drop some things that I feel are concerning about the current build for Reach MCC, I'm going to make a list of both the good and bad of this current build, and later on when the extension is done, I will then go with a deep dive with other insiders onto what's going everything with the build, what needs to be done and what needs to be improved for the final release to be good. But for now, here are the current positive and negative aspects I've currently seen in the biggest change you're probably going to notice is the enhanced settings, and that they look gorgeous. They really make this game look really stand out. It does not look like it's aged a bit. It looks really better, and one thing I've did notice is that there are high resolution textures which don't seem that they look to be upscaled, but they were of a higher resolution to begin with, which really appreciate that. It's not upscaled, it just looks good. Some of the graphical details have been upgraded, and with a little bit of comparison to the classic and enhanced settings, there's a bit of a difference, and especially more noticeable in the campaign. Firefight not so much, multiplayer a little bit, but campaign, definite improvement. The options and settings they offer in the PC build are really good. It's a really good start, a really good foundation for what you can. You can change your key bindings, you can input gamepad support, you can change your graphical, video settings, audio settings, network settings, accessibility, a whole bunch of different options. And there's a lot of area here for possibilities and improvement, and a little bit more in-depth customizations with your settings. The only thing I have a bit of a problem with is that the graphical settings are set to preset modes, such as Enhanced, Classic, and Performance, in case you can't handle this game, this 10-year-old game. This is alright, but it's something I would expect more on the console version of the MCC, which the appeal of PC is to better customize your settings such as textures, shadows, reflections, lighting, different video and post-processing effects, all that jazz to sort of customize your machine to better tailor optimization to your game, whether or not you're getting low frame rates or you just want to blow this game's graphical settings to the max. If your machine is capable or not, you're allowed to do that. Very good performance. What I mean by performance is that I barely had any issues with running or just any frame rate drops. It ran completely smooth at 160 frames, and when I turned off VSync and uncapped the frame rate, it went up to 80 and 90. It was very nice, very smooth, nothing dipped. There was no problem with any controller inputs or anything like that. It all ran surprisingly smoothing, with just a little bit of exception with stuttering every now and then, but it was very rare when it happened. Customization. It's no surprise that this is a big positive, especially with the redone look with the use of Unreal Engine 4, and that Reach has one of the best customizations in the Halo series. Halo 4 is better. This view model looks very excellent, and the system they have in place is rather smart considering they're bringing in new people and old people, so you kind of want to make a little bit of a progression system with what you want to give out, which is customization. And so far the way they're doing it is pretty good. My only issue with it, which did get patched out, was the amount of experience you got, because you used to get only 1000 XP versus 900 for just completing the game and not finishing it. But they have upped it up to about 6,000 to 10,000, which makes the grind a little bit more bearable. It doesn't make it painfully obvious that it's a huge grind. You're able to level up within like a couple of games and get new armor. I would say like 15 to 20 minutes you expect to get new armor, so it's a pretty good progression. It feels like you're progressing without making it feel like a horrible grind. My only issue, and this is really minor, just because I'm a machinima maker, is that the view model using Unreal Engine 4 is not a one-to-one representation of what your spawn will look like in terms of both lighting, color, and I've noticed a little bit of some of the attachment models aren't one-to-one either. So especially if you're like me, who likes to make machinima, or someone else likes to make screenshots, those clan people, or you just really care about what you look like, you don't have a good representation of what you're gonna look like in-game, and that's just a minor issue for people who really care about customization, but also a big issue for me. I make machinima. It's not good for me, especially, weirdly enough, you can't use your mouse or any of the arrows or WSD to sort of move around the player model to sort of see how your armor pieces work together, which is odd considering that was in the original game, but like I said before, it's a very minor inconvenience, and I'll admit, it looks damn good. Frequency of patches. So far throughout the entirety of testing Reach's insider builds, I have noticed that 343 has sort of been patching within these tester build sessions. Basically, they release patch notes fairly quickly from I seen from a developer, and do so with a bit of fixes, updates, other kind of stuff, but quality of life improvements each time. Each build has a significant upgrade in both content, performance, stability, crash fixes, other sort of stuff like that. They respond a lot to testers and people who find bugs, and they carry on this mentality and this frequency to post-launch. They can quickly iron out any sort of bugs or anything like that players find post-launch, which has me a bit optimistic on how they will handle the launch and also going forward with MCC and maybe Infinite. If they carry this on with this mentality, I have a lot of faith that they can do patches in very good timing. It's not gonna be first year MCC. This is more community-based, but modding support has been able to keep longevity for a lot of games, such as The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, GTA. All those games have lots of sales, but also a lot of longevity. So far, with the things I've seen from Lord Zed, Game Cheat, Vengeful Vadam, and even this guy who somehow was able to get Reach working with VR support. Imagine that. Reach VR. Based on everything these talented and creative people have done with the build so far, it really gives you an idea of what sort of prospects you can have for modding, with changes to gameplay, customization, a lot of offline tools that you can use, maybe be able to insert different music into the audio, different texture packs even, change some of the models, change it up a bit, insert different models from other games. A lot of stuff can happen. Even imagine player-made custom campaigns. Imagine that. So far, I've had a bunch of good impressions with the build so far, and 343's behavior towards this build. Now we're getting into the negatives. Connection issues. I had a lot of connection issues in the first day of this current build session, and while later on I really didn't have any lag or any the sort of dips in my internet side, I've heard a bunch of people, especially more in the European sort of outside of the United States market, have a lot of issues with this current build, and I think they should either sort of iron out these connection issues or sort of do a large-scale sort of network testing to see how well their networking and everything's working out, because so far I haven't had that many issues. As of now, I had a lot before. Still, other people are having it, and it's a bit of an issue, especially when you're trying to get this out with influencers and streamers, especially in other markets of the world. Weapon leniency, and this is a bit of a weird one because this wasn't present in the original game, is that the console Reach, when you shoot the assault rifle, it shoots out 1 bullet. On PC Reach, it's weirdly enough it shoots 2 to 3 bullets when you just do a simple click with the mouse or with your controller. It's not really a big deal, but it has this feeling of lag after you're shooting a weapon when it's really not there. And this is also a little bit noticeable with the plasma weapons, even though they were kind of like this in Reach, but they kind of do it more. It's weird. And also the pistol also has a chance of shooting 2 shots when you just want to shoot 1 shot. And this is a bit of importance, and especially if you want to get those accurate shots, you want to time them together, which because, Reach has recoil, it sort of messes that up. And weirdly enough, there's also another issue. This is especially noticeable with the sniper rifle, is that there's a bit of a delay when you shoot, and when your rounds actually hit your target, there's a bit of a delay, and I think I'm not the only one who notices this. There's also a weird thing where you kind of have to off-kilter your shots to the right of your crosshair a little bit. It's weird. Like, console Reach, you hit dead center in order to land your shots with a sniper rifle. Here, you kind of have to lead in as you would in, let's say, a Battlefield, or I think it was Halo 3 or CE that had this issue too. Hitboxes. Now, I've always been in the opinion that Reach has some pretty janky hitboxes, especially with the head hitboxes. Dear lord, they suck. But it's really worse here, in which you will aim nowhere near an enemy, but you'll hit them. It seems like the hitboxes were raised a little bit more, but the hitboxes seem way worse now. I don't know why. You have to be dead center on the visor. You hit the chin, you hit the top of the head, you hit the neck. Doesn't count as a headshot, counts as body shot. I don't know why it does this. It's weird. It could be just me. I don't have all the data. I don't have any specifics on what the hitboxes look like, but that's just what it feels like to me. Spawning. Oh god, spawns. I don't know what happened here, but the spawns are worse. Like, Reach had some fairly decent spawning, but here, I've had multiple instances where I would just spawn in front of an enemy, or an enemy would spawn right in front of me, anywhere else on the map, together. It's really broken and janky, and really leads onto some really cheap deaths and kills. It's really annoying, and it hasn't been patched out either, and it's pretty frequently that they spawn sort of act like this. But probably the biggest thing wrong with this build are the loading, errors, crashes, and temp bans. If I were to describe my playtime with this, it would be 25% actually playing the game, and 75% of the game troubleshooting, getting to crashes, and being banned for no reason whatsoever. So what's going on here is that there's been a lot of error messages, crashes going on with this current build, and that's to be expected. But there's a metric ton of them, and they happen extremely frequently, sometimes back-to-back in matches, and there's a bigger issue that I'll get into later. But for now, here's the list of error messages that I get. One is when you're booting up the easy anti-cheat, and it will just freeze, and stay there. Then you gotta boot it out again. You either boot it up again, you get into the game, good, you get into a match, and you're loading in. You're loading in forever and ever. And it's really strange because I've been with my friends when this happens, and they say that I'm loaded in the game. They see my Spartan, but I'm not loaded in, and so I have to reboot the game yet again. So when all that happens and you get into the game, you load it, it's good, everything's alright, everything's fine and dandy, you go in for a few minutes, and your game freezes. Kinda, it's like a pseudo-freeze, and you can't do anything, you can't back up the menu, but you can shift-tab into the Steam menu, so I guess that's good if you want to force quit. Another variation of this is with the infamous fatal error crash, in which, out of nowhere, you'll just get a fatal error, which, so far I've seen, is really random, but this especially happens when I was recording, and other people have been doing this when they're recording with OBS, so it's a weird problem. I can't get enough footage because of this fatal error, because I was worried whether or not my recordings would cause my game to crash, and I just wanted to play the game and sort of get into testing. So let's say you get no crashes, you play a couple games for the night, you're like, I want to log out. So you quit the game, and then Steam boots up, and MCC doesn't, it's not stopping. It's still playing. You can't close down Steam. It's still playing. Yeah, it's still playing. I know Steam sometimes has this error where you exit out of the game and it won't close down properly, so you have to go in either Task Manager to close it out, and this rarely happens for me. But with MCC, it happens very frequently when I exit out of the game. I don't know why, it just doesn't stop the application. I have to manually go in and close down the entirety of Steam every time I exit out to the desktop out of MCC. So far, my experience with this build has been 75% crashes, error messages, just not being able to play the game. But you know what made it even worse was that every time the game had an error, every time the game wouldn't load in, every time the game had to crash, you know what happened? I got banned from matchmaking for this. Let me run that by you. You get banned for things that happen out of your control, that is of the fault of the game's programming. Does that make any sense to you whatsoever? Like, I can understand why they implement the temp ban system, which is to avoid people from going AFK, or to avoid people from doing very bad behavior or cheating in the game. I understand why they have that in and why they're pretty aggressive about it. But this is really ridiculous that your system can't differentiate from players who have legitimate issues with your game and are logging out of the game and calling off matches because their game crashes or they're having networking issues on your side of the end, and they're getting banned for that? It's really dumb, and especially if you launch it within the state it's currently in, or somewhere a bit close to it, especially when PC is known to have a bit more, issues and stuff. It's not going to look good, especially when people are unable to play the game. That's going to leave a really sour taste in their mouth. And finally, finishing off with something that was rather controversial is the text boxes and the censorship within these text boxes. If you don't know, most peacefully multiplayer games have the ability that if you don't have a microphone, you can text in chat using a button and just text out what you want to say and press enter, and the entire chat or your team can see what you have to say. The issue has been going around is that 343 has censored certain obscenities, curse words, other stuff, other weird choices like SWAT, which is a game mode in the game. I don't know why you would do that. And people are saying that this is a bit hypocritical, 343, and that's a bit of against freedom of speech. Well, personally, I don't have many issues with this implementation. Let's be honest here, most of the people who are upset about this really want to, yell obscenities at the people in the game, such as, fuck you, asshole, you suck, go kill yourself, motherfucker, all those kind of bad shit. My personal gripe with the system is that it seems a bit hypocritical and against sort of the things that are in Reach already, and also because of this big old M right here. Halo is more of a game more for an FPS adult audience, and especially this entry, Reach, which is supposed to be the most gritty, mature, visceral, violent entry in the series. It has a bunch of obscene content and a bunch of curse words, and its people say a lot of curse words in this game. And for some reason, you're gonna censor all that stuff out that's already in this game, even though I can just take my mic and say it already. Seems a bit hypocritical and a bit counterintuitive and a bit half-assed on your end, 343. Now, this isn't to say I'm not understanding. In fact, I do understand why they want to implement this kind of system, sort of censor out certain words within this game, and let's be utterly honest here, Halo does have a considerably large child audience, especially when it comes to Reach. I come from making Reach machinimas, and a lot of people making Reach, a lot of people participating in Reach machinimas is a lot of children. There's a lot of children within this community, and I think 343 has a personal responsibility not to showcase any content or any behavior or any obscenities towards these children, especially when we get phone calls from the parents. Don't want to deal with that. So what I think 343 should do here is, instead of forcing this upon you, sort of leave an option in the settings menu, give you the option to censor the text boxes. Leave it up to you, leave it up to parent to decide what their children should see, what type of content you want to see, whether or not you want to participate in this behavior or not. It sort of doesn't matter when it comes to text boxes, especially when you take and go in your microphone, or you can go in the campaign and just see this all for yourself. So far, that's what I found with issues so far. Again, I'll update as when the flighting is currently done, and when me and other insiders really deep dive into sort of the issues going on with this current build, and I'll get a video quickly out of there before December 3rd. But that's one final issue I gotta mention, and that is with the close release date of Reach MCC. I was really excited for Modern Warfare, but it had a very narrow window from the beta to its release. And when it was released with so many issues, bugs, and performance issues. It was really a bad launch. They really should have delayed it. And coming from this, I know 343 is a bit more eyeing when it comes to patches. They want to release patches a lot more quicker over the years. And I have no doubt that they'll be able to iron out patches, after post-launch. But my issue is that there's not really going to be a different change coming from this build to the actual release on December 3rd, considering that each build had a considerable amount of time in between each play session. And that's my main issue, is that there's not really going to be much time to address the issues that they have so far, especially when there is an enormous problem going on with errors, crashes, loading, and temp bans that is really going to hamper the launch of this game. It's going to be almost as bad as MCC's initial launch, and that's something I really don't want to see happen, but going along with trends in games and with 343's current, pacing, I really want to be proven wrong here, but I'm really skeptical they're actually going to be able to launch this game perfectly in good mint condition for PC. I really doubt it's going to be that way, and so I'm probably going to wait until after to see if it actually runs good, if they're actually going to put proper modding support for mod creators, because I want Halo to have a good footing in the PC market, especially from my experiences with customization for Halo CE PC, which was amazing. I would never regret those moments I had with that game, all the custom-made content, all the untapped potential. I want 343 to prove me wrong and to release this game in good, mint condition, to have sort of a revival in the Halo franchise, and to have good faith in what they do here can be applied to Infinite and beyond. Whew, that was a mouthful. If you have a bunch of stuff that I didn't mention in this video that you have issue with, or that you have good things with and good impressions with that I didn't mention, leave a comment below. And until next time, this is Grumpy Elite, signing out.